Hello, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly episode. It is episode number 307, and it's April the 15th, 2025. So let's jump right into what I've been working on. You've seen it before. This is the finished Giraffe quilt. I actually boxed it up along with the bibs and a few other things. Bag I made some time ago that you have seen, the gnome bag, and excuse me, a few 3D prints as well for my great niece Clara. And so that went off to BC, Abbotsford, yesterday. So, excuse me for that. Okay, but let's talk about this for a second. You know, it just wouldn't be one of my creations if I didn't have, well, what I like to call now customizations, which is just a fancy word for, oops, I screwed up again. So this was going together very nicely. It is a Tracy Perks pattern. I love her patterns. I'm all choked up about it. I love her patterns. I need a drink. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, as I was saying, it's a Tracy Perks pattern, and they're very easy to put together. Her instructions are excellent. It's basically put together as a bunch of squares and half square triangles in a grid. And you get these wonderful products at the end of it. There is a lot of cutting, but thank goodness I have my AccuQuilt, and that made short work of the 401 blue squares that I needed in this. Well, I thought I had cut 401. This is my first little customization. When I got down to near the bottom of the quilt, I realized I didn't have enough blue squares. Now, not a problem. Just cut more blue squares. Yeah, I would have, except I didn't have any more of that blue fabric. I was certain that I had cut enough. I'm an idiot. Should have double checked. But anyways, I thought, well, what am I going to do? So I went through my stash looking for another blue that was, the same as this blue. No, not possible. And blues are extremely difficult to match. I had nothing that would work. If I used the blue, it would have screamed that, ooh, you screwed around with something. You made a customization. I don't know what's wrong with my voice this morning. Anyways, if you look down at the bottom eighth of the quilt where the green is, you'll notice there are two shades of green. Well, originally there was only one shade of green, the darker green, and all those light green spots had blue. Now the idea here is, I think, the giraffe is poking its head above the trees. Okay, so that's the trees, or that's the tree line in the bottom part of the quilt. But there was a little bit of blue sky poking out between the leaves of the tree. Well, nope, now it's all two shades of green. But you want to know something? Unless I told somebody this, or unless you had a copy of the pattern, you would never know that was a mistake. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So that worked out okay. Now, I did back this with Cuddle. And let me show you what the back looks like. Oh yeah, before I do that, you see what I've quilted it in is all bubbles. We talked about that last week. That was Walter's idea, and it worked out really well. And here's a close-up of what the back looks like. And you see there's lots of texture. Now you can't really see the stitches, and that is a good thing because I had a lot of problems with the tension. This is Cuddle. I will never use Cuddle again. I don't care what anybody writes in the comments and says, I have used Cuddle and Minky for years. I've never had a problem. And you know what my answer is to that? Bully for you. If you didn't have a problem, that is great. You're doing something that's working for you. But for me, Walter and I spent an hour trying to get the tension on Lucy right for this. We never did. We came close, but we never got it quite right. The top thread was pulling up to the top of the quilt, the bottom thread. Now at that point I was using a dark blue for the bobbin thread, and I was using a very light grayish brown kind of thread for the top. Sort of a neutral with it, because I didn't want the quilting to take over from the central image of the giraffe. And we couldn't get it right. And so I was just about at the point where I was just going to unload the whole quilt, take the cuddle off. I hadn't done any stitching yet. I was doing this all on a test piece, and go to regular quilting cotton for the backing. But then Walter came up with a brilliant idea. He said, why not use a bobbin thread that's much lighter and is very close to the color of your top thread? The theory was there that if the top thread was pulling it up, the bobbin thread up to the top, you wouldn't really see it because it would blend in to the top thread. So we tried that, did some more experiments, and that worked like a charm. However, I will not work with Cuddle or Minky ever again. Now, some people have told me that Minky is very, very linty, and that you'll have to be cleaning your machine halfway through the quilting process. I didn't find that with the Cuddle. It was fine when it came to that kind of thing, and it washed really well. I did not pre-wash the Cuddle. I did look at videos on YouTube about it, and most of the ones I found really didn't talk about the tension thing on a long arm. What I did hear was, oh, it's going to be slippery if you're using it on your domestic machine, so beware of that. But nobody said anything about the tension. In fact, one of the videos I watched, the lady went on and said, oh, it was wonderful stuff to work with. No problems. Great, great, great. Okay, again, I go back to what I said before. She lied. I don't believe it worked that well right off the bat. No, I don't. I have found that with some YouTube video creators. It's one of the reasons I created Idiot Quilter. A lot of content creators in the quilting world will not admit that they had a problem. And really, I think they're doing us a disservice when they don't do that, because we need to know. Troubleshoot for us. Share your experience and share it honestly. And I don't think a lot of content creators do. Maybe they think we'll think bad of them because they made a mistake. Well, I make them all the time, don't I? So, yeah. But anyways, it's done. I'm happy with the way it turned out, and it's gone off to my great niece. Okay, another thing that I did do, and you're going to hear and see more about this come this Friday on So Chatty. Again, my throat. This was an experiment. I don't know how I got triggered into this experiment, but I think I was probably hunting for some quilting designs on the internet, as one does. And I came across a pattern they called it a tulip block. And it was basically foundation paper piecing using your embroidery machine. Cool, because I don't like foundation paper piecing, sorry. I know, possibly sacrilege to some of you out there, but I don't find it enjoyable. So I thought, I like the end results, but I don't find it enjoyable. So I found this pattern. I think it was on an Etsy store. And it doesn't look like a tulip right now, but that's because there are 4 of those tulip units, let's call them that, put together to create this formation. And I love it. And it was fast and so easy to do. So I went exploring for more patterns. And if you want to know more about the saga of this, I will be talking about it in more detail on So Chatty on Friday. I'm also going to teach Walter how to do foundation paper piecing in the hoop. It's wonderful. I wish there were more patterns out there for it, but we'll talk about that too on So Chatty as well. So yeah, I'm very pleased with the way this table topper turned out. And after Easter's over, I'm going to remove the one I have on my family room coffee table, which is round glass, and I'm going to put this one on for a while there. So yeah. And one as a side note to this, you see the fabrics I was using. Since this started out as an experiment, I didn't realize I was going to really complete this whole project like this. I went to my stash of fat quarter bundles that, at one point in my life, I was hoarding fat quarter bundles. And these fabrics that are in are not my usual aesthetic. These are, your 1938 Civil War kind of reproduction style fabrics. What I commonly refer to as old lady fabrics. Yeah. But after doing this project, I have about a new appreciation for these types of fabrics, and I think I may work with them again in the future. Watch out, Lori Holt. I'll be coming after your bundles. But yeah, what more can I say? Well, I'll say more, as I said, on So Chatty on Friday, so tune in. Okay, so that's what I have been doing. And let's see. Well, announcement time. Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen this Wednesday, as always, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Links in the show notes. We had a pop-up sew day. I had a pop-up sew day. You were at the pop-up sew day. Well, not all of you. If you weren't there, why weren't you? Because we had a good time. Got caught up on a lot of projects. Well, everybody else did except me. Yeah, I have gotten things done, but I don't feel as if I've been very productive. And one of the problems comes with the future project that's no longer in the future that I'll be talking about a little bit later in the episode. So I'll explain that then. But I didn't get a lot done. My attention was diverted between projects. I have the Barn Star sampler. Yes, if you look over my shoulder, the purpley lavender blocks that are there, that is the block set number 14 of 20 block sets for the Barn Star sampler. It's coming. I have decided to put my efforts into getting this quilt done. I started this quilt 2 years ago. It isn't hard. There's a lot of cutting of pieces, and there's a lot of pieces. There's a lot of blocks. It's going to be wonderful when it's done. And right now I'm figuring on putting it on my bed because I think it'll be a good size for that. And yeah, but every time I go near my basket of the fabrics and everything, and what I do is I cut the things in advance and set them up as kits. I find that's easier than you get tired of cutting and then you start putting it together. So, if I take one day and I cut a few of the blocks, the fabric for the blocks in advance, put them in the baggies and mark them, then the next day I go back to it and they're all cut and I feel like I've gotten something more done. But yeah, and then of course you see over there the beginnings of, or I'm about 2/3 of the way finished it, if just the panels, but it is another gnome. It is a Halloween gnome. Now I bought this at the same time I bought the pattern from Sweet Pea for the Easter bunny gnome. And you know that I'm sort of making these wall hangings and they're hanging on my cabinets all around this room. And I want a gnome for every one of the significant holiday events in the year. So yeah, I started on him even though it's not Halloween yet. That was a diversion because you know how much I love doing in the hoop projects. Well, let's get ourselves back on track. So tomorrow at the Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen, I intend to work somewhat on the Barn Star sampler and maybe possibly split my time between it and the Halloween gnome wall hanging. And I hope it gets me back on track so I feel like I'm accomplishing something. Because lately, I've been doing a lot of things, not to mention a lot of 3D printing as well. But I just don't feel like I'm getting anything really done. So yeah, I don't know if you understand that. You've probably had times like that as well. It's a bit of a slump, I guess. Okay, so what else is taking up my time, though, is the retreat registration. It is now open for the Idiot Quilter Spring Retreat 2025. That will be on the 26th of April, but registration is open now, and registration is only open for about a week, okay, pending on how well it does. I mean, I may extend the opening of it and not close it until a little closer to the actual date of the retreat. But things are filling up fairly fast right now. Yesterday was the first day it was open, and I think we've got about 40 people already registered. So there are still spots. If you've been procrastinating, stop, because I have a feeling today that number is going to rise even higher. And I do have a limited number of spaces. It is a free event, as you know. No charge, but registration is necessary for you to reserve your spot. And all you have to do is send me your first and your last name to me as an email. And if the email address you sent that information from is different from the email address you want to use as your contact information, then also put that in the body of the email message as well. I will register you, and you will get back very quickly, because I do them almost instantaneously when they come in. I'm never more than 3 feet away from my computer. You will get a confirmation with some important information in that confirmation as well. So yeah, if you've never been to a virtual retreat before or never been to one of mine, now's the time to try. We have a really good time. It's a great day. We have guest speakers. I'm excited about the fact that I have 2 Canadian guest speakers, Heidi Morale, who's going to talk about her journey with hand quilting and show us some of her beautiful creations, and she is a excellent hand quilter. And then we have John from Art East Quilting Company. And if you're not familiar with Art East Quilting Company, you need to go to their website. Just put in Art East Quilting Company, and you will see all of his wonderful kits and creations. And everybody is in love with his Alice in Wonderland, his 100 Acre Woods. And he has so many. I've done one of his quilts before. I did Cat Scratch, and I have another one with blowing up bunnies. Just the title alone excites me. I haven't got around to that one yet. But anyways, John is coming. He is a very creative individual and a really nice person as well. I know this because I've talked to him before. And, both John and Heidi are doing this free, gratis, no charge, because they know, because I don't charge anything for the retreat, I really can't afford to pay them. So that's just wonderful of them to do this, to take the time to put the time and effort into a presentation for all the retreat participants. So it'll be a great day. And of course, we have prizes, and I've had some wonderful prizes donated by a local quilt store here too. So yeah, and we have an icebreaker cocktail party the night before. It is a great time. I know some people say, well, they don't like virtual retreats. They prefer in person. Well, you want to know something? I get it. But you don't have to lug all your stuff to this one. You have it right there in front of you. So there's no chance that you're going to forget something. It's free. Did I mention? It's free. You don't have to worry about food or food allergies. You don't have to worry about the type of accommodation and paying for that. You don't have to worry about driving anywhere or flying anywhere. It's right here in the comfort of your own home. So it's a great time. If you've never been to one, now's your chance. So sign up. It's going to be wonderful. Did I say that enough times? It's going to be wonderful. Okay, so just another note. Stephen and Walter Live will be on 1 hour earlier this coming Sunday. Instead of at 4 p.m. Eastern, as we usually do, we'll be on at 3 p.m. Eastern. Why is that? Because we're going to my sister's for Easter dinner, because it's Easter weekend coming up. So just keep that in mind, that we will be 1 hour earlier. And of course, if you can't join the live because you probably have plans for Easter as well, that's fine. You can always catch it on the replay if you wish. All right. I'm sorry about the runny nose. Don't know why that's happening, but it is. Okay. So last week on So Chatty, we did a deep cleaning of Walter's 6700P, his Janome 6700P. And we've had a lot of comments about that, how people really appreciate seeing that, because it took the fear out of deep cleaning your machine, whether it's a Janome or any other machine, with the exception of a Bernina. Berninas are very special in their own mind. but because they're very difficult to get into without a special set of tools for the more recent models of Berninas. The older Berninas, I think you can do it. But anyways, most machines, it's essentially the same. You need to take off maybe a side panel and need to take off the bottom panel. There are just a few screws. And, you know, you need to deep clean your machine. That is something people don't think of. And even if you're somebody who cleans your machine on the surface, like you get in, you give a drop of oil to the wick under the bobbin and that kind of thing and clean out the bobbin case, you know, things still drop down inside and there they sit, growing. Yeah. But that whole session of So Chatty show you how easy it is to clean it out. And Walter's 6700P had never had a deep cleaning, and he's had that machine for, well, that machine's been in the house for 7 years because it used to be my first machine. And then I gave it to Walter when he started to get into sewing. And it's a workhorse. He's put a lot of fabric through it, I can tell you. So I've already mentioned what we're doing this coming Friday with foundation paper piecing on your embroidery machine. Okay, now thinking of machines and things like that, recently I bought a little gizmo that apparently is all the rage right now. It's trending, as they say, and it's for making your binding. It's called the Magic Binding Machine. A great idea in principle. Essentially, you stick in your 2.5 inch or whatever your folded piece of binding. You start off 6 or 8 inches, stick it in the little machine, clamp it down, pull it through. Your strip becomes your binding. It creases it wonderfully. No heat involved. Fast, quick, easy. Perfect binding every time. No. So I thought I would do a little comparison between using that little gizmo and what I was using before, which is another gizmo, but it's a silicone pad that you basically has 2 loops on it. You thread your binding strip through that to get it started, put your hot iron down on top of the silicone pad and on top of the binding, and you pull it through, and it makes binding as well. Now there's some quirks to it as well, but I thought I'd compare the 2 techniques or 2 devices so you can make up your own mind. So here's what I created for you to see.
So recently I bought a new binding method for making binding that has just come out. It is this thing. It is called the Magic Binding Machine, and it doesn't use heat, and it will fold your fabric strip automatically to 2.5 for a piece of 2.5 inch binding. I have been used to using this pad right here, which is a silicone pad that your iron sits on top of. It does use heat, whereas this one doesn't use heat, for creating your binding. So let's put the 2 of them to a test and see which one I like better. So we're going to start with the one that I've used a lot. I have 2 strips, 2.5 inch strips of binding cut, and on both of these strips I have folded over in half, as you would, both of them, and taken my iron and just give them a press, about 6-7 inches of this to get it started. So let's take this one, and the way this works is you take your strip and you put it under these 2 loops on either side. Now I'm on a wool pressing mat, which is a little bit on the slippery side. Let's get this in here. So I have placed one of those rubberized shelf liners down on top here just to keep this from moving around too much. Oops, I did it again. I pulled it out. Okay. Okay, so you want to start off with both your strip evenly folded. You put your hot iron on top of this pad. It's silicone, so don't have to worry, it's heat resistant. And then you simply pull slowly your strip, making sure to use your hand on this side just to line up your edges. And this does help you from burning your fingers, because my hands are well away from the iron itself. And we just keep pulling the strip through, keeping our edges lined up. Just like that. Okay. So there we have your perfectly folded and pressed nice crease on the seam using this silicone pad. Love it. Brilliant. When I discovered this, I thought it was the best thing. It was expensive. It cost me in Canadian dollars by the time it's shipping and everything from the store I got it from, and it wasn't easy to find at the time, and I've had this a couple of years now, about $80 Canadian. So this is not a cheap device. All right, let's turn our attention to this little device. This one does not need heat. It's a clamp. So you unclamp these side pieces, open it up, and the way it's designed is there is a track right here. And the side that goes up is where you see the arrow, and it's pointing in the direction that you're going to feed your strip into this. And this track, when you feed it in, oops, pull it out. So you're going to start your binding, fold it in half, and I gave it a light press to start with, although I could probably have done a finger press according to them. There's a little roller in here, right here, one on top and the bottom, which puts pressure on the strip. And as I said, there's two little bars here of plastic as a track for lining it up. You clamp it down, and the idea is you pull your binding through, and it, without heat, the pressure of those rollers is going to crease your strip. But here's the problem. It's very slippery, very slippery. Even the silicone pad on the wool mat has some resistance. I added that rubberized shelf liner sheet just to make it less movable. But this one is all over the place. So let's take the rubberized sheet and put it on here and see. Now that does grip a little bit better, but you're going to have to take your hand and push it on this. So you just pull it through. Oops, and I'm pulling through the wrong one. So this one's going to be perfect because that's the one I did a moment ago. Okay, let's get the right one in. Did you catch that? I didn't, but I'm an idiot. Okay, put it in, line it up on the track, and here we go. Well, it's still going to move because there's a lot of resistance here. So I am going to have to put my hand on top and pull it through. So far, so good. Okay. Let's take a look at the other side though. Here is the problem. See that? It somehow does not stay in that track that's there. And if you're not actually pulling it over like I was doing with the first one, your binding is not going to come out even. So that's not a good thing. The other thing I don't like about this is they've made this a very slick bottom. And there's some resistance, but not as much as I get from the silicone pad. Also, I'm not using heat. Okay, that's a good thing because you don't burn your fingers. But is the crease the same? It's not bad. It's not bad. Hard to show this on camera. But the one I use heat on obviously is going to give you a little better press than just a pressure. Because in a sense, this is just a very more extreme finger press. So, what am I saying about these two products? Should you buy this? In my opinion, at what you're charging for it, no. This little gizmo cost me about $56 Canadian by the time it was with shipping, taxes, and everything. This one I told you cost me more. It cost me about 80 bucks. But this one isn't reliable. This one is more reliable. This one, if you have a tendency to burn your fingers, would be a great asset. This one, you just be careful. Both need something to keep them from moving, although there is less movement with this one than there is with this one. So, what would be my recommendations? I think this is a good idea. However, I think they need to redesign it so that the tracks somehow maybe make the whole piece a little longer so these don't slide out of the track, or have some kind of mechanism, maybe a roller on the top of these or whatever, that will keep your strip in place. I think there needs to be a no-slip base of some sort put onto this. I have heard of one person using double-sided tape on their cutting mat to use with this. That would work too, but the fact is you're paying a lot of money. It should already come with that built in. I would say that as a first-time effort at designing something like this, that it's not a bad idea. I think in order to get your money's worth, I think it needs to be improved. Am I going to use this? No. I'm going to stick to this one because the results are more reliable. So that's my review of the silicone mat for making a binding and the magic binding machine.
So as I said at the end of that video, personally, I wouldn't waste my money on that product. I think there is plenty of room for improvement, and if they do make improvements to it, then I might buy it again and see how it works. But that little sucker cost me over 50 bucks, and it is not worth that kind of money. Okay, so subscribers quilt of the week. Well, this one comes from a long-time subscriber here. You've seen some of her lovely creations before. And here's another one, and this is by Colleen Pigeon. This week's quilt from a subscriber is from Colleen Pigeon, who lives out in Prince Edward Island, Canada. So she's a fellow Canadian, which is nice to see. And this is her latest beautiful creation. And this is what Colleen has to say about it. She says, attached is a quilt I just finished. The pattern is called Standing Tall and is from Cedar Quilt Company, which is a wing of Helen's Closet, a Canadian garment pattern company. While it is jelly roll friendly, I used up short strips from all over and added a butterfly border. The backing is flannelette. So beautiful colors in this quilt. It's a simple design, but a very effective design. I love the butterfly borders and sashing as well. That really sets the colors in the quilt off, I think. And I love the way you took the picture with the backdrop being snow at your house as well. Couldn't get more typical Canadian than that, could you, Colleen? So this is a really nice quilt, a great way to use up those scrap strips as Colleen did, or using a jelly roll. You might have a jelly roll that you bought at one point in time and now look at it and go, why did I bother? Great way to use it up. So love it, Colleen. That's great. It's nice that it is all Canadian, Canadian made, and the pattern is from a Canadian company. And let's pretend that the fabric you used in it as well is also Canadian. And it probably is. Thanks again, Colleen, for sending this. It's gorgeous. And Colleen is also a fellow Canadian from PEI. Okay, so YouTube of the week. Well, when I was trying to figure out how I was going to use the cuddle backing on that giraffe quilt, I went looking for videos, and I found this one, and it was called How to Use Minky Fabric for Quilt Backing. And this is the one where they didn't really give me all the information, but they gave me more information than other videos that I looked for. So here's my review of that. When I decided to use Cuddle on the back of that giraffe quilt, the one that I'm sending out to my great niece, my new great niece, Clara, um, I wanted to know how to use it properly because I have never used it, and I've heard some horror stories about using Cuddle or Minky on as backing on a quilt. So I found this video called "Backing a Quilt with Minky Fabric" by Homemade Emily Jane. Emily Jane, yeah, okay, that's the name of the YouTube channel, and it was filled with a lot of very good information about using Cuddle, and it did kind of take away my fear of using this on the backing. But you've already heard how I've had some problems with that, which were not addressed in this video. But nevertheless, if you have never used Minky or Cuddle, and Cuddle basically is just a form of Minky, then you might want to check out this video because she does talk about several different issues and how to get around those when using it as a backing fabric. So that's how to use Minky fabric for quilt backing, and there's a link for it in the show notes below. So the link for that is in the show notes below. You'll also find links below for everything I've talked about today, and you will find links to last week's videos as well. Okay, so future projects, I hinted at this. This is called the Disappearing Hourglass Medallion. So first of all, here's what I'm talking about. Here's the pattern. This week's future project comes from Missouri Star Quilt, and I have had this pattern for quite some time. I think it may have been a pattern that came in one of the Christmas Advent boxes, and I put it in a binder that I've marked as potential quilts for Project Linus, although it's debatable whether I'm going to be donating anything more to Project Linus, but that's a story for another day. But in the meantime, I think this is a really interesting quilt. It looks like it's fairly simple to do, called Disappearing Hourglass Medallion, and it says quilt pattern for 10-inch square. So if you've got some 10-inch squares laying around, and I actually do have some that I don't know what to do with, this might be the pattern for that. Of course, I would probably make it very scrappy looking because the squares that I have left over in my stash are all, basically random. So this might be something I should leave out as a potential to do very, very soon. I've got a lot of those ones I want to do very, very soon, and yeah, I don't get to them. Now, they do tell you on the back what the requirements are. I really wish they didn't have that. Okay, so they're using Wellington Essentials as the fabric, but you could use, as I said, anything that you want. You need one package of 10-inch print squares and one package of 10-inch background squares. Well, you could just use yardage for that. I'd probably use white. And yeah, so it looks like it would go quite fast. It's not a bad size quilt, 68 by 68 inches, not huge. So, if you're looking for something that you can probably do in a reasonable amount of time as a gift for somebody, then this might be what you would be interested in. Now, right now, it's on sale in Missouri Star Quilt for $4 American, so that's pretty good too. So yeah, that's on my list of future projects. I have so many things on the future list, I'm never going to get done them until about 2320. Now, why did I abandon it? Because, and I should have known this, I don't have a great deal of luck with Missouri Star quilt patterns. They write them in such an economical way that if you're not careful, you can get screwed up in the instructions. Also, they make them sound like they're so easy, and that's why I want to do it, because I needed a palette cleanser. Well, actually, what I was using it for was to avoid working on the Barnstar sampler. And I thought this would at least give me a sense of accomplishment. No, it gave me a sense of frustration. There's one instruction there where you take the block that you initially make and you have to cut it in 2 cuts vertically, 2 cuts horizontally, 2 inches away from the center lines. Easy enough. They recommend using a rotating cutting mat. I did that. Yes, you have to be careful that things don't slide when you do it. And that's where the problem came in. Because no matter how careful I was, for some reason, when I cut that block and then did the switcheroo, because you end up with 9 units and you have to spin them different ways. That in itself sounds easy, but you're constantly looking at the diagram to figure out which way things go. You do. At least, okay, I do. Maybe you don't. I do. By the time I get them over to the sewing machine, somehow I've turned them the wrong way. And so I'm there ripping them out. One medallion block, which is quite large, I think it comes out to about 12.5 inches, takes a long time to make. Yeah. They make it sound easy because they recommend using a layer cake for this. Okay, makes it an expensive quilt because you do not have enough colors in a layer cake. If you're trying to do it, and I was trying to do it in sort of rainbowy kind of colors, I had to have 2 10-inch layer cakes, the same ones, to actually do this quilt. Now, if you were doing it all in just one color, you'd probably be okay. And that's what they did in the pattern. So maybe it's my problem with it. I should have stuck to just doing one color. I don't know. But either way, I got one medallion done. I'm working on the second medallion. And I'm thinking to myself, am I really enjoying this project? And I wasn't. So I thought, why waste these layer cakes on this project if I'm not enjoying the process? And I had something screwed up majorly on the next medallion I was making when I was cutting it. So I had to remake a couple of the little pieces. And I thought, no. If it's not bringing you joy, don't be afraid to stop it. So before I kill more fabric. So I stopped it and I scrapped it. And I'll use those fabrics for something else another time with it. But when I did that, when I scrapped it, I felt a big weight came off my shoulders. And that inspired me to get back to the Barnstar sampler, because at least with it, I'm having success. It's a slow success, but I'm having success. So I guess the lesson I learned from this was, if you don't like what you're doing, stop doing it. There is nothing wrong with that. And believe me, you're wasting a lot of time and energy on something you're not getting any joy from. Okay. Now, I'm not saying, though, that you shouldn't, if this appeals to you, this pattern, that you shouldn't try it. Okay? I'm just telling you what it was for me. Okay, so what other things have I been working on that have been diverting my attention this week? Well, here's what I've been working on. It's been one of those weeks where I got things done, but I don't feel like I've accomplished anything. And I hate looking over in this corner because this is my project corner, and I have some projects here. But a couple of things you can see, the bibs and the baby quilt are all done. So next week I've got to get that shipped out to BC. Should send a text message to my brother and find out what my niece's address is, because I don't know what it is. So let's see, let's looking around here. Okay, you can see there's a basket of Halloween fabric. Yeah, Halloween fabric. Come to that in a minute. I'm working on this quilt. This is the one that you see down here. There's piles of these. I thought this was going to be a simple project. It's turning into be a little bit more complex and a little bit more involved than I expected. So I don't know. Basically, what I've been doing is using this project to not work on the Barnstar sampler quilt, which I've got to get done. So I'm thinking I may do bits and pieces this next week, do a little bit of this project, move over to this project, etc. We'll see how that works out. So like I said, this pile of fabric, Halloween, is for this project. Again, this is one of these projects where I was tired during my pop-up sew day of working on that quilt I just showed you on the design wall, so I went to this. and it's another gnome wall hanger. I think it's going to be quite nice, but my plan for today is to get this panel done and then return my attention to this, the Hourglass quilt or medallion, whatever they called it. It's a Missouri Star quilt pattern. Of course, in the meantime, I've got things set up on my computer screen down here for doing 3D prints. Right now, the printers are quiet, but they won't be for long. I just did a very large print the other day. I'll show you that. I'll take you into the Lucy room. I made this. This was just to find, I saw it. It's made up of the benchies. Just a little cup kind of a thing. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But I've been working on some things that will end up being gifts, and that's all I'm going to say right now. Let's put on some light. And these are the things I've been working on. And you've already seen pictures of some of these, and you've seen them in past videos, some dragons and that. So these are going to be some gifts. And I've got a basket full of dragon eggs, so if I get invited over to my sister's for Easter dinner, I'm going to fill these with M&Ms and other little surprises and put them at everybody's place setting. And yeah, this room's getting a little bit cluttered too. This happens. Got to declutter again real soon, especially over here. So yeah, that's what I've been up to this week. So that takes me to the part of the episode where I talk about an online quilt store for the week. This is another store from Ontario, Canada, and it's called the Sewing Shoppe. This week's online shop comes from a place called Essex, Ontario, and it's called the Sewing Shoppe. So here is their front page. Let's take a look at it. Well, they've got bingo. That jumps right out. April 1st, bingo begins. Remember to check under store events for your daily bingo numbers. Well, that sounds intriguing. April 17th to the 22nd is Easter weekend, and all the fabric is a springy 50% off. Minimum 1 meter cuts. Well, that's okay too. They do have quilting fabrics, sewing notions, gifts, embroidery, Sally Tomato products, new products arriving daily. And here's a few of them. Oh, they have a gypsy design wall. Out of curiosity, I wonder how much they charge for that, because that isn't easy to get. 70 bucks Canadian. That's not bad. But anyways, I digress. Let's go back home page here. Okay, so they have handmade softcover children's storybook. They have 505, and they have a newsletter. All right, and you can get gift certificates as well, and a map to where they're located. They do have a brick and mortar store. I guess they do. Yep, they do. Okay, so let's go to shop online and let's check out their fabric. So the way they have this organized, they have the little index on the left-hand side, which I always appreciate. And then they have some categories listed here with pictures. So they have fabric, they have Michael Miller's Fairy Frost. Ooh, I love that line of fabric. I have some of that. I wouldn't mind getting some more. End of the Bolt, Sewing Notions, Patterns, Thread, batting, Pellon, sale items, gifts, cross stitch, miscellaneous products, and bag making materials. Okay, well, they seem to have all the gamuts covered. So let's go right into their fabric line then and see what we have in terms of price and selection. So again, they have this subdivided. They have a left side column or index. They have Northcott, Wilmington, Love and Learning, Cedar Crest, Whiskers and Wine, more space out cotton collection. A lot of Northcott, a lot of Wellington. Looks like these are lines, more designed on lines than by actual manufacturers. But they have quite a selection, really. Yeah, a lot there. Okay, so let's take a look up here. Northcott Cotton Urban Vibes, Willingham. Well, let's just pick on the first one. $19.99, 42 inches to 44 inches wide. I am assuming that is either by the meter or by the yard. Let's just see. Yes, it is priced by meter, so $20 a meter. That's middle of the road. Actually, that's, I'm going to say, oops, sorry. I was going to say middle of the road, but actually, it's probably more the average actually better than the average, in terms of what we have available to us here in Canada. Okay, so that I don't have a problem with. Um, Bejeweled collection. Now that's $21 a meter, so that's $1 more. So not everything is the same price. Let's go back and pick something else. Northcott Whale Song. Whoa, that one's on, well, that's a panel. 18.95. So it's looking here, their prices range from about $18.95 up to maybe $22 a meter. Let's just check one more down here. Xanadu Cotton Collection, $20.99. Yeah, so anywhere from about $18 to $22 a meter, which is all within the ballpark. That's not unreasonable, given how prices are on quilting cotton these days. Okay, so that's fabric. We'll need to check out shipping soon, but let's look at other things. End of bolt. Okay, $35. Oh, that's Minky, 60 inches wide, end of bolt. Don't know how much you're getting there. You do here, though. 1.56 meters. Okay. Well, if you're looking for end of the bolt, funny, this says end of the bolt, 108 inches, wide back, $56.95. But how much are you getting? Okay. We don't really know if they're calling that end of the bolt. Okay, you can get up to I guess you get up to 3 meters of it, but interesting. Don't understand that at all. Okay, let's go back and let's look at, go back one more. Let's check out sewing notions. Probably the usual kind of thing. Buttons, rulers, snaps, webbing, zippers. Yeah, the usual kind of things. I don't think we need to look into pricing of these because notions are something that most places I have found online all running around the same price. Patterns, similarly with patterns, it's not so much the price because they're all about the same. It's all about the selection. And a lot of stuffed animals. A lot of stuffed animals. Quilt making for beginners. I'm not seeing anything here that is really outstanding. They have lots of pages of it. Let's go to their last page. Yeah. I mean, selection-wise, looks like they have some garment ones as well. Oh no, it's a bag pattern. So yeah, it might be worth browsing. Okay, let's see what they're selling for thread. Aurifil, good, 50 weight. That's what I buy. $21.99. Aurifil has gone up in price. That's a little on the high side because I can get it at my local quilt store for about $18.99 a spool, possibly a little less. So yeah, I think that's a little pricey. But let's see what other threads that they have. They have Gutermann, and depending on the size, $2.59 to $99, $7.99. Okay, which I think is in the ballpark for Gutermann. Do they have anything else? They have Mettler. Mettler is one that's a bit rare. $4.49, $4.29, $9.49 again for a larger spool, and again I think that's about the going price. So anything else? This is Surging Threads, Sulky Thread Blends, Gutermann Denim Thread, Gunnold. I'm not familiar with them. In cones, 1,000-meter cones, $8.99. This looks like something you would possibly quilt with or even embroider, which would be, if so, that's I guess in the ballpark of other threads that are comparable. Okay. Um, and of course they had Wonderfill and $16.99 for a 2,000 meter 80 weight. $16.99. Okay, so for that size, again, I think that's all within the ballpark. I don't buy Wonderfill threads, so I'm not completely sure about that. All right, what else did they have to choose from? They have batting. So they have it in the package, pre-cut. Pelon Nature's Touch Natural, $29.99. 121, that's per meter. That is pricey. That is pricey. What else do they have? Thermal Insulbright and fusible fleece, fiber fill. So they have interfacing. They have a fairly good selection of, you know, interfacing and stabilizer. As far as actual batting is concerned, not really a great selection. Yeah, they had poly cotton, cotton poly, rented lips, 80/20 with a scrim, sold out though. And I don't know if we can find out what they were pricing at. $24.99 for 60 by 60 inches. I guess that's not terrible. And they've got Nature's Touch by Pelon, 72 by 90 inches, so that's a twin size, $34.99, and it's out of stock too. So those I don't think are unreasonably priced for what you're getting there. Okay, what else should we look at here? Sale items, let's see what they have for sale. That quarter bundle cotton. Oh, babies on sale? I don't know. I don't understand why we have a picture like that of a baby under fat quarter bundle cotton. This item is not available for purchase online. Is this a joke? Are they just being funny? I have no idea. Fat quarter bundle cotton, 20 by 22. Is it because it's not available? They just put in a picture of somebody's baby? I don't understand. That one confuses me. I don't like to be confused when I'm on a website, even if it is supposed to be humorous. What category are we in? We're in... I am confused because we have a mixture of all... Oh, these are sale items. That's what it is. These are sale items, yeah. Senior moment. Okay, well... in my opinion, I can see why a lot of this stuff's on sale. Yeah. Okay, so what else? Well, gifts. Yeah, okay. Cross stitch, if you're into cross stitching, miscellaneous products. Now here, they have bag making materials. They've got full leather, they've got cork, and then of course they have your rings and straps and things like that. These are kind of nice. Quite a variety, $12. I don't think that's unreasonable. Sally Tomato pieces. Okay, I am curious about their faux leather and what they're offering. Okay, some books. We have some vinyl. Okay, where's the faux leather? Am I missing something? We have vinyl. I don't see any full leather. I see create with cork fabric, a book. Why did you tell me there was full leather here? And they're saying that these are 7 products. Those are not, this is not full leather, it's vinyl. unless they consider the vinyl full leather. It's from OESD. It's vinyl. That's not full leather. So that's a misleading item. Not impressed when when you don't label things correctly or clearly. Okay, so what else can we look at here? Well, they have a calendar. Do they have events? Well, nothing in April. Okay. Yep, no events in April. Anything coming up in May? Nope. So you have a calendar, but you don't have any events, so why bother putting that on there? Again, I don't like things that are empty. If you don't have anything to put into it, I don't think you should put it up on your website. Long arm. You offer long arm quilting services from placemats to king size quilts, minimum charge of $25. Okay, they do. They have their backings, 10% on patterns. They don't really tell you how much. I guess you have to contact them to find that out. Oh, they'll do alterations too on clothing and on quilts and things like that. Okay, so they're one-stop shopping if you need your alterations. About us. They're a Canadian company. Yes, they've been in business for 23 years, so something's working for them. And they have a 3,000 square foot showroom. Well, that's nice too. So if you're ever in their area, you might want to drop in. If I was there, I would. But have we found anything about shipping? Return policy, shipping. Here we go. Some items are ship intense and cost more than $35 to ship due to size and shape. Items that are ship intense include batting, quilts, fleece, rulers, and thread. Shipping and handling fees. We ship through our Canada Post. You can choose economy, expedited, or priority with the exact fee of the post office. We do not add any extra fees. Insurance on large orders is extra. Payment options are credit card. Okay, so we do not know how much it's going to cost until you check out, I guess, and it's whatever Canada Post is charging, which I guess would depend on how large the package is that you've ordered. Doesn't look like they offer any kind of incentive for free shipping either. Okay, so I think we've done it. Oh, store events, this bingo. Okay, but they don't seem to have any other events, and they don't seem to have classes or anything like that either. All right, so I would say then my overall rating, their selection of fabrics is okay. Price-wise, okay. I like the organization of their web page. It's easy to navigate, although there are some areas where, like the calendar and that, I don't believe those should be up there. If you have a long arm service, it didn't give us any prices, just said there was a minimum of $25. Yeah, it's okay overall. So I think overall, I'm just going to give them, I'm a little leery about their shipping policy or what it's going to cost you. I like to see something up front. I would like to have seen some incentive if I bought, $150, $200 worth of product from them that I'd get free shipping. That isn't there. Yeah, I think overall I'm going to give the Sewing Shoppe a 6 out of 10. So you may want to check it out for yourself. So that brings me to pretty much the end of this episode of the Idiot Quilter, but just another reminder, retreat registration is now open. So I hope you are considering coming, and you know why I want you to come, because you're going to have a good time. And yeah, so it's open, it's there. Hope you're able to register for it if you so desire. All right, that's enough for me today. And I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you later. Bye for now.